If you're watching this video right now, chances are you're preparing for commando training. You've been preparing for months, or maybe even years. And from the outside, people think that you've got your shit together. But from the inside, internally, you're training, you're showing up, you're putting in the work. But something just isn't right. Because despite all that effort that you're putting in, you're not seeing the results that you know that you're truly capable of. You're training, it feels scattered. You're picking up niggles and injuries that won't go away. And some days, even though you've got that motivation, the motivation's there, but you don't fully trust that what you're doing is actually going to get you there. And that gap between the effort that you're putting in and the results that you're seeing, that's what's keeping you up at night. That's what's keeping you stuck in the same place. And I know how you're feeling, because remember, I've been there. And I've worked with thousands of recruits who are in the exact same position where you are right now. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why you're stuck. And more importantly, what you can do to fix it. So you can start striving forward with complete confidence, clarity, and intention. But for that to happen, I need you to stick with me for a moment. Because once you learn this stuff that I'm going to share with you today, you'll finally be able to move forward with confidence and the clarity that you need. You'll be the person that you can fully trust, because you've just become the aspiring Royal Marine who's leaving no stones unturned. Because you've already got ahead of 99% of the people that haven't seen this video. And for those that don't know me, I'm Jim. And before I get into this, I need you to understand something. I was exactly where you are right now. Years ago, I was training for the Royal Marines. I had the dream. I had the motivation. I was training every single day, secretly, twice most days. And I got that so wrong. I had no real structure. I was just throwing stuff at a wall to seeing what would stick. The best way I can describe this is throwing your whites and pinks into one wash and just hoping that the white tees don't turn out pink when you take it out there. I was running more miles, doing more press ups. I was hitting the gym harder than ever. And I kept on thinking, if I just keep working harder, keep putting it all together, keep pushing, it would work out. But it didn't, because I wasn't training smart. I was training blind. I wasted a lot of time doubting and second guessing my training, my preparation. Now, luckily I got there in the end. And I say luck because 70% of people that use this approach, they burn out. They burn out before they get to Royal Commando. Or when they rock up, they turn up with niggles, injuries, and break down in the early stages of recruit training. Not because they didn't want it, but because they didn't have the right system. And I've seen this countless times as a Royal Marines PTI and an exercise rehab instructor. Because for years, I've been working with recruits that were preparing for training, and I've worked with recruits who picked up the injuries to rehab them to get them back into mainstream training. Recruits who were failing assessments, who were training their asses off and getting nowhere. And I saw the same three problems over and over again. The same three things that were holding every single one of them back. And when I helped fix these three things, everything changed for them and for the thousands of recruits that were coming through recruit training. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. Okay, so in the middle of this triangle, you have got the outcome, okay? And that right there is the Green Beret. Obviously, that's what we're working towards. But there's three things that are standing in your way right now. First thing, this is structure. Your training's looking a bit messy. Your structure isn't the right structure you need to make that the reality right now. It's niggles and injuries is the second. You're picking up little niggles, injuries, preventable injuries that can be avoided once you build the right foundations. And the third is motivation without discipline. Now, I'm sure you've all got the motivation. You're aspiring Royal Marines. You're going for the Green Beret. I've got no doubt about your motivation to want that. But it's the discipline where people get wrong. Because discipline without the right system can get a lot of people caught out. Now, if I'm to break this down and give you an example of this. Now, if I'm on a NavX at Limpston, I'm on Dartmoor, and I've got the motivation. I've got the motivation to finish that exercise. I've got the motivation to get round in time, under time, so I pass. But I'm following the bearing, and the bearing is taking me in the wrong direction, okay? But I've got the discipline to back myself, because I'm gonna trust myself, and I'm gonna follow this straight, I'm gonna follow this bearing, hoping it gets me to the right destination. But without the right system, without the system you need, without the right bearing, because actually it's incorrect, if I just keep following that, I'm going to end up in the wrong place. And that's what happens when you've got the motivation, you've got the discipline, but you've got the wrong system. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to unpack each one of these so you can start moving forward with direction, with the system, and most importantly, make this dream a reality. So the first one we're going to unpack is structure. And what I mean by this is you want structure that's been built purposely for you. Not structure following a generic program, not structure following a bit of everything, double tapping or triple tapping your sessions over a daily period, just throwing more at a wall, hoping it will stick. But what you're actually doing is you're following the structure without the right system. And when you do that, you're just giving yourself so much opportunities to go and fail. And that's not what you want. That is what you want to avoid. So to avoid structure with the wrong system, you need to build it for you. And to build it for you, you need to do these things. Firstly, you need to test yourselves, because training without testing doesn't give you any areas to fix. It doesn't allow you to identify your weak links. And as I always say, prevention is better than cure. So you need to fix these areas. You need to fix your imbalances before they become problems at Limpson Commando when it's too late. You need structure with alignment. And what I mean by this is you need structure that fits around your lifestyle, because too many people are training twice, they're training 3 times a day, they're not giving themselves any recovery, and they just keep pushing, and again, eventually, all that does is it leads out to burnout and injuries. You need structure with alignment. And I've seen this transformation happen time and time again. We're gonna use Ryan here. Ryan came to us after training with a military prep coach that had never been a PTI. He was pushing Ryan twice a day, very little recovery in between. The structure wasn't built for him. There was no testing. There was no testing. So to me, that was just all about guessing. There was no alignment. There was no alignment around his lifestyle. So Ryan just kept on pushing, and eventually he kept on breaking. And that's when he came and joined us on the Tier 1 pathway. We tested him. We built training purposely built for him. We built training purposely built around his lifestyle. And with that, Ryan was smashing PBs across the board just after 8 weeks. And with that in mind, he said to us, yeah, but Jim, I'm doing less. I'm doing less than what I was doing before. Yeah, less is more. Because when you train smart, when you train with the right system, when you train with the structure that's been built for you, that's the difference. That's what will move the needle forward. And that's what we call gold standard preparation here on the Tier 1 pathway. And the next big issue is the niggles and injuries. And what we call here on the Tier 1 pathway is bulletproofing the body. You need to be bulletproofing the body now, before you get to recruit training. Because what we've seen is guys that are fit enough, they're strong enough to pass the CPC. They're passing the pre-joining fitness assessment. They're showing up to Limpson Commando, ready to dominate. But data's telling us that 48% of the recruits injured in Hunter Company right now having rehab are within the first 8 weeks of Royal Marines training. So that data is showing that people are fit enough to pass the press-ups, fit enough to do the sit-ups, fit enough to do the bleep test, fit enough to get round the endurance course, but when they're rocking up to Limpson, they're breaking down very, very quickly. And that goes back to not testing. That goes back to not building alignment with you, with the program that's purposely built around you and what you need to be doing. Maybe the strength you're building isn't the right kind of strength. Maybe you're doing the bodybuilding splits. Maybe you're running without any goal, without any intention, without any structure around your training. And marathon runners that are just running distance without building the strength, without building the resilience, without building the robustness needed for recruit training will get found out very quickly. And that's when you need to be building the bulletproof body, you need to be building the training, and you need to be building the structure that's purposely built for you. Not only that, you need to strategically bring in rest and recovery into your training, because without rest and recovery, the body is going to break down very quickly. And if people turn up to recruit training burnt out, niggles before they even get there, Limpson Commando will expose those injuries and they'll make them into bigger problems. You need to be fixing that stuff now. The way I look at this is if you're burning a 1 litre Nissan Micra around 100 miles per hour, everywhere you go, you're absolutely redlining it. Well, eventually it's going to blow up. And I know that because that's what happened to my first car, my Nissan Micra, when I first passed my test 6 months later. And let me tell you about Pravam. Pravam joined us. He'd been down to a CPC. He failed because of shin pain. He went back down again, still niggles, still injuries. Shin pain hadn't gone away. Again, got to the endurance course, pulled himself off. And that was because he hadn't built the robustness. That was because he hadn't built the resilience. That was because he just kept on running, not building the strength, and he just kept on breaking down. Not because he didn't want it bad enough, because right now he's got a Green Beret. He went down to training after joining us on the Tier 1 pathway, after building the strength, after building the resilience, and after building the training specifically that fitted his intentions and what he needed to do. He went down, passed out as an original, and earned his Green Beret. And that's the difference with training with structure, training with alignment, being tested, and building a bulletproof body. Because the bigger the foundation, the higher you can stack the tower. And it starts off with these two things here. Next, we move on to motivation without discipline. Motivation without discipline is an area that no one talks about, and for that reason is misunderstood, because most recruits, they think they have a motivation problem. They think that on the days that they don't want to train, it means that they don't want it bad enough. And right now, let's be honest, you want discipline to follow the thing, not just any program, your program, the one that's been built specifically for you, tested regularly and adjusted based on your results. You want to be able to trust the process, to know that every session is moving you forward, and that every week of training has been building something real, something towards what you need to be doing. The system that you're following has been proven to work, and you want to reach the point where showing up is not a decision anymore. It's just what you do, because the system is fully locked in. The habits have been built, and the discipline is now automatic, because that's what Commando training demands. Not someone who shows up when they feel like it. Someone who knows that when they show up every single time, regardless of how they feel, regardless of what's going on, because their system is stronger than their excuses. You can't take a knee on the battlefield. You can't take a knee when the rounds are coming down. So why are you going to take a knee right now? Why are you going to do that to yourself? Why are you going to build those excuses? Because you won't get away with it in recruit training, and you definitely won't get away with it on the battlefield, because that's the difference between someone moving forward and someone getting killed. One of our recruits came to us struggling with consistency. He had motivation on the days, but on some days he was skipping sessions. He lost momentum, and he spent next week trying to play catch up. We gave him the structure, we gave him the foundation, we gave him the regular testing and the clear milestones, and within weeks, something shifted. He stopped relying on motivation. He started trusting the process. And this is what he said. Before Tier 1, I was all over the place. Some weeks I'd smash it. The other weeks I'd barely train. Jim gave me a system that I knew that I could actually trust. I could see my progress. I knew that what I was doing was working, and that changed everything. I stopped fighting myself and I started showing up. And I just showed up every time, and eventually he earned his Green Beret. That's what happens when discipline replaces motivation. You become truly unstoppable. Right, so let me tell you about the system that fixes all three of these problems. At Tier 1 Coaching, we've spent years refining what we call now the Tier 1 Commando PTI training system. And it's been built on three non-negotiables. Non-negotiable number one. If you're not testing, you're guessing. Just like we spoke about earlier, regular structured testing is the foundation of everything you do. Because without data, you're just hoping. And hope doesn't earn Green Berets. Number two, your training must be built from people that have not just been through the process, it's been built from people that have taken thousands through the process. The ones that know how to truly go on and earn your Green Beret. Going through it gives yourself perspective. It gives yourself the right to share experiences of what's maybe worked for you. But taking thousands through it, it replaces that with the standard and the delivery that actually matters. And my team has a combined experience of over 100 years experience as a Royal Marines PTI, Army PTIs, and para PTIs. We know it works. We know what breaks people. We know why people pass and why people get injured. Number three, rest and recovery. It's not strategic. It's not optional. It's essential. because recruits who show up that haven't built a bulletproof body, they're the ones that get injured. The ones who train the smartest are the ones that get through, because anyone can keep pushing. Anyone can keep firing the rounds, but without reloading, it goes empty. And an empty mag gets people killed in combat situations. When you combine all three of these non-negotiables, that's when your training becomes structured, tested, and it's built around your individual needs. That's when everything will change. That's when the Green Beret, it stops becoming a dream and it starts actually becoming a plan that you're going to make happen. And look, in all honesty, you've got two options right now. You can go back to what you were doing before. You know, keep training hard, keep doing what you're doing, and just hope it all comes together. We can actually find out where you stand right now, where you're strong, where you're weak, and what's going to let you down if you don't fix these things right now. So instead of asking you to jump on a webinar or coming to join me on hours of content that I'm putting up, I want to invite you to something far more valuable. Go and take the free Commando fitness test. This isn't a workout, it's where you'll find where your weak areas are, where your gaps are, where your strengths are, and what's holding you back right now. Because once you know these weak links, you can start sharpening the blade properly. Not guessing, not just hoping for the best. You can start training with intent. And when you complete it, you'll get a clear understanding of what you need to work on, what you need to do right now, and how to start applying everything that we've just spoken about today into your training right now. And look, from there, you'll have an option to book a performance call with myself where we can break down absolutely everything you're going through, your results, your goals, your timeline, and map out a clear strategy to help you move forward with intent, with direction, no more guesswork, no more wasted time, just a plan that actually makes sense for you. So look, if you're serious about earning your place in the Royal Marines, don't leave it to chance. Test yourself, identify the gaps, and move forward with a plan specifically built for you. Because that's the difference between making this Green Beret a dream and a reality. I'll attach the link below, take the test now, and I'll see you on a performance call very soon.